Good day everyone. This presentation introduced the Israel-Hamas conflict between 2023 until 2025, which is represent a continuation of the long-standing Palestinian-Israeli conflict that began in 1948. Hamas emerged during the first Intifada in the late 1980s and as an Islamic militant organization and has controlled the Gaza Strip since 2007. As a non-state actor, Hamas relies on the asymmetric warfare tactic including the rocket attack, underground tunnel, and urban combat. The conflict escalated significantly in October 2023 when Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel territory, resulting in the death of approximately 1,200 Israelis, marking the deadliest day in Israel history. In response, Israel initiated a large-scale military operation involving airstrike, blockade, and ground assault across Gaza. The war continued until 2025, causing widespread destruction, severe humanitarian crisis, and regional instability. From a strategic perspective, this conflict is highly significant. It illustrates the nature of modern asymmetric warfare, where a state actor with advanced military capability confronts a non-state armed group using unconventional methods. Beyond the battlefield, the conflict affects regional security in the Middle East, international diplomacy, global power dynamic, and the enforcement of international humanitarian law. It also raised serious ethical concerns regarding civilian casualty, urban warfare, and the protection of essential infrastructure. Therefore, the objectives of this study are threefold. First, it aims to analyze the conflict through modern warfare theories such as asymmetric warfare, deterrence, and just war principle. Second, it evaluates the effectiveness of Israel and Hamas strategy in achieving their political and military goals. Third, it examines the humanitarian, legal, and regional security implications of the war while proposing possible diplomatic and civilian protection-oriented solutions. This study focuses specifically on the 2023 until 2025 period without providing an in-depth historical analysis prior to 2023 in order to better understand how contemporary warfare has evolved in the 21st century. Next, this slide presents the theoretical framework used to analyze the Israel-Hamas conflict from 2023 until 2025. First, asymmetric warfare explains the power imbalance between the two sides. Israel is a strong state with advanced military technology, while Hamas is a non-state actor using unconventional tactics such as rocket, tunnel, and urban warfare. Hamas' strategy is not to win military but to create instability and impose high costs on Israel. Second, deterrence theory focuses on preventing attack through the threat of retaliation. Although Israel has strong military capability and defense system, the October 7, 2023 attack showed that deterrence is less effective against ideologically driven non-state actors like Hamas and may instead lead to repeat escalation. Finally, just war theory evaluates the moral and ethical dimension of the conflict. While Israel justifies its action as a self-defense, concern arise over proportionality and civilian protection in densely populated areas. At the same time, Hamas' use of civilian space for military purposes and also evaluate ethical principles. Overall, this theory helps expand the strategy, security, and moral challenge of modern warfare in the Israel-Hamas conflict.
So I will present my part, which is critical analysis. So let's start with the main actors. The first actor is Israel. Israel is a sovereign state with a highly centralized military, the IDF. It has air superiority, advanced intelligence, cyber capabilities, and missile defense system like Iron Dome. This allows Israel to coordinate air, land, and intelligence operations effectively, enabling extended military operations while maintaining deterrence. So the second actor is Hamas. Hamas is a non-state armed group operating in Gaza, both military and politically. It lacks traditional military infrastructure and relies on decentralized leadership, underground tunnels, and urban civilian areas to move and hide fighters. This flexibility allows it to survive and resist Israel despite material inferiority. So the third actor is external actors. External actors also play a role. Iran provides Hamas with funding, weapons, and training. The US supports Israel diplomatically and militarily, while the UN serves as a humanitarian and legal intermediary, monitoring the conflict and providing aid. Next part is strategic objective. The first one, Israel. Israel's strategic objective center on ensuring national security and protecting its population from rocket attacks, cross-border incursions, and terrorism. A key goal is to degrade and weaken Hamas military and organizational capacity, particularly its leadership, weapons stockpiles, and tunnel networks, to reduce its ability to launch future attacks. Israel also seeks to maintain deterrence by demonstrating military superiority and a high cost for hostile actions, discouraging both Hamas and other regional adversaries. At the same time, Israel aims to preserve domestic support and international legitimacy, balancing military effectiveness with efforts to minimize civilian casualties and comply with international law to avoid diplomatic isolation. And the second one is Hamas. Hamas' strategic objective differs significantly from those of a conventional state actor. Rather than pursuing a decisive military victory, Hamas prioritizes organizational survival, political relevance, and resistance against Israeli control. Its strategy emphasized long-term persistence, using asymmetrical warfare, rocket attacks, and symbolic acts of resistance to demonstrate continued defiance. Hamas also seeks to shape regional and international public opinion, portraying itself as a defender of Palestinian rights and leveraging civilian suffering to gain political and moral support. Through sustained resistance and periodic escalation, Hamas aims to maintain influence within Palestinian politics and keep the conflict active on the regional and global agenda. So next part is methods of warfare. The first one, missile defense and rocket attack. Hamas used low-cost rockets to create psychological pressure, disrupt daily life, and draw international attention, while Israel responds with Iron Dome, intelligence-driven strikes, and measured retaliation. This strategy focuses on defense and deterrence while minimizing civilian casualties. The second one is urban warfare and tunnel network. Hamas operates within densely populated areas and underground tunnels to hide fighters, move weapons, and launch surprise attacks. Israel counters with specialized urban warfare units, engineering teams, and tunnel detection technology. Urban setting creates operational challenges for both sides, requiring precision and intelligence. And the last one is airstrikes, ground operations, and information warfare. Israel used drones, airstrikes, and limited ground operations to target Hamas leadership and infrastructure. Both sides used information warfare. Hamas mobilized media narrative to gain support and highlight civilian suffering, while Israel used media to justify operations and maintain domestic and international legitimacy. Information control is as strategic as physical combat.
So for my part, I will explain about evaluation and critical discussion. So the first thing first is effectiveness of Israel's strategy. Israel entered the 2023 and until 2025 conflict against Hamas with several key objectives. First, to eliminate Hamas military capabilities and its control over the Gaza Strip, secure the release of hostages, and restore its deterrent power. From an operational perspective, Israel demonstrated clear military superiority. This was shown through intensive airstrike, coordinated ground operation, and targeted against Hamas leadership, tunnel networks, rocket launch sites, and command center.
However, in terms of strategic success, the result were mixed. Hamas was not eliminated and continued to survive as an organized actor, maintaining its ability to conduct urban warfare and launch missiles during the conflict. And then, the 7 October attack also revealed the failure of Israel's traditional deterrent strategy. Furthermore, the high number of civilian casualties and widespread destruction of infrastructure significantly weakened Israel's moral and diplomatic legitimacy, increasing international pressure regarding violation of international humanitarian law. And secondly, I will explain about effectiveness of Hamas strategy. Hamas strategy as a weaker party in the conflict. Hamas measured its success differently from a conventional state actor. Rather than territorial control, its key indicator of success are survivability, continued political relevance, and the ability to impose costs on Israel. The attack on 7 October demonstrated a significant psychological impact by exposing vulnerabilities within Israel's security system. In addition, Hamas' use of urban warfare, tunnel network, and low-cost rockets increased the operational and financial burden on Israeli forces. However, Hamas' strategy also involved the targeting of civilians and the use of civilian infrastructure, which constitutes a violation of the principle of jus in bello under international humanitarian law. Israel's counter-response resulted in widespread devastation of Gaza healthcare system, education sector, and economy. Some estimates suggest that Gaza's development has been set back by several decades. The next one is humanitarian impact and international legal accountability. The humanitarian consequences of the conflict were devastating. Gaza suffered widespread destruction of homes, healthcare facilities, and education infrastructure, while most of its population was displaced. Economic and developmental losses were severe, with estimates suggesting that Gaza's development was set back by nearly 70 years and its economy contracting by more than 80%. Tens of thousands of civilians were killed, making this one of the deadliest conflicts for non-combatants in recent decades. Both sides violated the principle of jus in bello. Israel faces criticism for the use of high-explosive weapons in dense urban areas, raising serious concerns about proportionality. At the same time, Hamas carried out indiscriminate attacks against civilians and hostages. As a result, international legal scrutiny intensified through proceedings at the International Court of Justice, investigations by the International Criminal Court, and extensive human rights reporting. This mechanism limited military freedom of action and added significant moral and strategic pressure. Overall, this conflict demonstrates that success in modern warfare is not defined solely by military power. Moral legitimacy and compliance with humanitarian norms are critical, as failure to uphold these standards can undermine long-term strategic objectives even when tactical victories are achieved. The next one is regional and international implication. The Israel-Hamas conflict from 2023 until 2025 significantly increased tension across the Middle East. Israel's failure to eliminate Hamas created opportunities for Iranian-backed proxy groups, including Hezbollah, Iraqi Shiite militants, and the Houthis to expand their attacks against Israel and Western interests. Missile strikes and the disruption of commercial shipping in the Red Sea further demonstrated the limitation of relying solely on military solutions to address regional instability. At a global level, the conflict exposed a deepening geopolitical divide. While Western powers strongly supported Israel's right to self-defense, the rising number of civilian casualties led to intensified calls for a ceasefire and an end to hostilities. Although the United Nations passed resolutions aimed at protecting civilians, internal divisions within the Security Council undermine the credibility and effectiveness of these measures. At the same time, pro-Palestinian movement gained global momentum, calling for a new political order between Israel and its Arab neighbors. This highlights a key lesson of the conflict. Military success without addressing underlying political issues risks further destabilizing the region. As the conclusion, the Gaza conflict demonstrates that Israel's superior conventional military power produced only limited tactical successes and failed to achieve a sustainable strategic victory. At the same time, Hamas managed to secure symbolic and political relevance, but at an extraordinarily high humanitarian costs for the people of Gaza. The failure of deterrence, combined with extreme power asymmetry and the widespread use of asymmetric tactics such as tunnel and urban warfare, place both sides in what can be described as a mutual hurting stalemate. Neither actor was able to achieve a decisive victory. Without incurring enormous reputational, legal, and humanitarian consequences, this conflict also highlights the limitation of modern military technology. Advanced air defense systems, intelligence capabilities, drones, and precision weapons do not guarantee security when known-state actors are able to exploit geography, civilian presence, human vulnerability, and information operation. The dense urban environment, extensive tunnel networks, and the use of civilians as shields severely constrains conventional military operation and significantly increase the risk of human rights violation. As a result, legitimacy has emerged as a central element of strategy in 21st century warfare. Finally, the Gaza conflict illustrates how weaker actors can effectively challenge stronger states through coordinated low-cost and low-technology means, including inexpensive rockets, commercial drones, information warfare, and surprise attacks. However, these same strategies expose civilian populations to devastating retaliation, resulting in widespread destruction and developmental setbacks lasting decades. Overall, this case demonstrates that success in modern and asymmetric warfare cannot be defined solely by military power. Without legitimacy, humanitarian compliance, and political resolution, tactical victories are unlikely to translate into long-term strategic success. The last one is for the recommendation. Pathway to sustainable peace in the Israel-Hamas conflict cannot rely solely on military power. Long-term stability requires credible diplomatic framework aimed at political resolution, particularly an internationally recognized two-state solution. Initiatives such as the Global Alliance for the Implementation of the Two-State Solution and United Nations hosted summits provide structured avenues to address core issues, including hostage release, humanitarian relief, governance reform, and Palestinian political representation. In addition, ceasefire agreements must be supported by layered implementation mechanisms. These include joint committees, ceasefire submission, and sectoral subcommittees responsible for monitoring violations. The integration of remote monitoring technologies such as unarmed drones, satellite surveillance, and ground sensors alongside multinational observers can help reduce violations and ensure consistent humanitarian access. Beyond ceasefires, post-conflict stabilization requires sustained international mission with clear mandates. This mission should focus on monitoring disarmament, troop movement, and civilian protection, while simultaneously supporting the reconstruction of Gaza's economy and institution. Ultimately, without inclusive diplomacy, carefully monitored ceasefire mechanism, and long-term international commitment, the Israel-Hamas conflict risks re-emerging as a next-generation asymmetric war with even higher humanitarian and political costs. That's it from me. Thank you.